Hello again, this is Rob Wagoner from MyCloudIT, and today I wanted to wrap up our discussion on the management capabilities our portal delivers to your business. Today I'm going to touch on monitoring and show you some of the cool capabilities we give you out of box. Let's stop and think about the traditional on-premises Windows Server deployment. When all of a sudden the customer says, I have performance problems, what do? Typically, we would say, okay, customer, let me put my performance tools in place to start data gathering. The cool part is Azure and MyCloudIT working together surfaced that over the last 24 hours. So instead of saying, customer, let me put the tools in place to catch it next time it happens, you can say, customer, let me run to the dashboard real quick and see what performance has been like over the last 24 hours. By default, when you move into monitoring, it's going to be set to the 24-hour time period so we can see what has happened. What I want to do is show you some of these performance counters. Now, by default, we have the memory available bytes. And while that could be useful, what I want to do is jump to a couple others that may share some insight as well. Processor time, and then we can even scroll down to physical disk. I love looking at the average disk queue length. This one gives us how much backlog is there in writing, especially in Azure. When we go with standard storage, Azure limits your I/O to 500 IOPS, or 500 transactions per second, to the disk. So if you're on standard storage, you may be hitting disk bottlenecks, and so we can just take a quick look. Now the cool part is this is showing me not much has gone on, but let's check the machines I'm monitoring, because in this one, I wouldn't expect the gateway server to have much of an impact. I would expect the management or the session host to start showing us some issues if they were there. The reason I talk about looking at the management and session host servers is remember that your management server actually handles your file sharing for you, and then the session hosts actually handle your user interaction. If we take a look at here, what we're seeing is we had big spikes in processor time. That was probably when I restarted the environment. See, it says 7:35 this morning, which is actually when my schedule is set to start this deployment. We can drill down to this. We can set this little marker here, right? So that we can go put some timelines, drill into granularity. Again, we started with 24 hours, but we can kind of drill in here. We can also go into a 10-minute cycle. This looks a little busy, but not when you go to troubleshoot it. All of a sudden we can drill in, we have our legend at the bottom telling us what each color applies to. And then the other fun part is we can print this, we can annotate if we want. We could download it as a PDF or a JPEG. The one I really love here though is Save As. This is where we can start having some fun. So when I choose Save As, I can then go in and choose whether a CSV, or an Excel file, or even a JSON file. I'm going to grab an Excel file. Go ahead and open that with Excel. Okay, so now the Excel file is open, and of course Excel says, hey, this file came from the internet, so it's in protected view. Since we know where it came from, we can go ahead and enable editing. As I spread this out, percent processor time. But look, all it's doing is giving me the date. But if we go in and change our format to a date-time combo, all of a sudden, we get some real-time data here every 5 seconds. What's performance look like for each of these servers from a processor perspective and even a disk I/O perspective. So now we can get very granular on troubleshooting this, even to time frames, even slicing and dicing it in Excel if need be. So that's my big hint there when it comes to troubleshooting. We have, again, our time frames, so we can drill back out to the full 24-hour period. Of course, that does nothing more than get us to focus on a space, right? All of our virtual machines that are in our deployment are available and can start giving you some insight on when you start needing to scale up some resources. Our performance counters, we only let you monitor 2 at a time. While yes, it would be nice to throw a whole bunch in there, the reality is then we have a graph that's unreadable. And so we do it 2 at a time, and to be honest with you, since we give you that whole 24-hour history just at a quick glance, quickly you can pop through and look at some of the key counters like the disk queue length or even current queue length. We could drill into there now and take a look at current queue length, which of course isn't very exciting, except when it comes to the reboot. Other counters that I would encourage you to give a look to, of course, are available bytes. That's going to tell us how much available RAM each virtual machine has. That'll help us identify whether we need to add more memory to a particular host or gateway server or management server. Percent user time is also another indicator we can watch so that we can see if the users are actually overloading the server, and then maybe what we need to do is thin out our users, not put as many users on each session host. Or if what we're seeing is user time is always low and memory consumption is always low and we don't have a disk bottleneck, maybe you can put more users on a session host and still get great performance. So a couple things you can look at there. Physical disk attributes we can drill into as well, all the way down to processes. How many threads are going on, how many handles are open, and even system processes. A lot of the same information that you would go into Task Manager or traditionally the Perfmon tool right here at your fingertips in a nice UI experience. That's about all I wanted to touch on here, but again, take note, we can drill in and get very granular on numbers. We have the ability to save this data off, even send it into Excel if need be. So that's all I had for today. Thanks for hanging with me for the whole series, and we'll talk soon.